You ever notice how we've all become experts at talking, but we can't seem to listen anymore? It's crazy, right? In the past, if you wanted to have a conversation, you had to sit down, look someone in the eye, and actually pay attention. Now, we're all walking around with our phones in our faces like little zombies, hoping we can get a response to a message faster than the other guy. It's like we've been conditioned to speak more but listen less. The irony is wild. I mean, think about it today. We can chat with someone halfway across the world in an instant. You can send a text, hit send, and bam, they're receiving it in real time 10,000 miles away. But then you're sitting in a cafe with someone in front of you and they're telling you about their day and your brain's just doing somersaults trying to think of the next thing you're going to say. You're not really listening. You're just waiting to jump in. You're thinking, okay, now's my chance to shine. How can I make this about me? It's hilarious because no one acknowledges this. We all do it, right? You start listening to someone's story and halfway through, your mind is already on your response. They could be talking about their deepest, most heartfelt moment, and you're just thinking, how can I top that? What's my cool response going to be? And here's the kicker. You're so deep in your own head, you don't even realize that the other person can tell. They can see it in your eyes. You're not present. And don't even get me started on texting. Texting is the worst for this. I mean, you've sent a text, right? And you're staring at the little three dots, waiting for the reply like it's a life or death situation. But instead of a meaningful response, you get a lull, just a little lull. Like that's all your message was worth. How are we going to solve the world's problems when we can't even communicate beyond lull? And we've turned this into an art form, haven't we? The quick reply, the one-word response, the emoji that says everything and yet nothing at all. But here's the thing. When was the last time you had a real conversation with someone? Like no phone, no distractions, just two human beings talking? When did that become rare? We've all become so self-absorbed in this idea that we need to be heard. Everyone's sharing their thoughts on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but it's just noise. People are shouting into the void, trying to be louder than the next guy, but no one's actually listening. Everyone wants to post their opinion, but how many of us actually take the time to hear someone else out? And we all know it's happening. We all get frustrated when someone doesn't listen to us. But the truth is, we're all guilty of doing the same thing. We get upset when someone interrupts us, but then we're the ones interrupting the person sitting across from us. It's like this weird unspoken competition where the person who talks the most wins. But what are we winning? A louder voice in the digital crowd, a bigger number of followers, a like on a post? Is that all we've come to? But it's not just online or through texting. It's happening in real life too. You're talking to someone at a party and they're looking at their phone every 20 seconds. It's like, hello, I'm right here. It's as if the person in front of you isn't good enough and they need to check their phone for something better, something more important. But here's the thing. When you're staring at your phone, it's not like you're actually having a conversation. You're just pretending to be present, pretending to care. So yeah, we've got all these ways to communicate, but somehow it feels like no one's actually communicating. We're all just talking at each other, not with each other. And isn't that just the funniest thing? We're supposed to be more connected than ever before, but we're more disconnected than ever. We're all just shouting into the void, hoping someone will hear us. And yet, all we really need is someone to just listen. But that's the thing, right? Everyone's talking, but no one's listening. And that's where the real comedy lies. How do we fix it? Maybe we can't. Maybe we just have to laugh at how absurd it all is. Because at the end of the day, we're all guilty of it. We're all just trying to be heard, but no one's really listening. And that's the real joke. Now, let's talk about something that's become painfully obvious in our daily lives. The complete breakdown of basic human interaction. I mean, remember when you'd go to a party and you'd actually talk to people? Like, have a conversation that lasted longer than the time it takes to check the latest meme on your phone. Those were the days, right? But now, you walk into any social gathering and it's like, okay, who's going to be the first person to make eye contact before looking down at their phone? It's almost a competition now. We've all seen it, friends getting together for dinner, everyone's sitting at the table, and instead of talking, they're all scrolling. You might as well be at a restaurant with a bunch of strangers because that's how it feels. And you try to get people to engage, right? You're like, so how's work been? How's the family? But then you see them glance at their phone and you just know this conversation is dead. It's over before it even started. And you're just sitting there wondering why you even bothered to ask. But hey, at least you get a like on your Instagram post. So there's that, right? It's like we're all living in this weird reality where we're physically together, but emotionally somewhere else. It's almost as if being physically present doesn't even matter anymore. We've substituted real human connection for whatever is happening on our screens. And it's not even just in social settings. You go to work and you're in a meeting where everyone's sitting around the table, nodding their heads, acting like they're involved, but deep down they're all checking emails or texting. How many times have you been in one of those meetings where the conversation's going on, but you can tell no one is really listening? They're just waiting for their turn to talk, hoping they'll get their moment to show how smart they are or how clever. It's almost like we've forgotten how to have a real conversation, how to really connect with each other. And it's not just the younger generation either. This is a disease that's spreading across all age groups. Then you've got the other side of it. You know those people who love to talk about how much they hate social media and all the superficial connections it brings? But guess what? They're still on it. They're still posting pictures of their lunch, sharing random thoughts, commenting on everything under the sun. It's like they're somehow above it all, but they're just as deep in the pit as everyone else. But here's the twist: they never admit it. They pretend like they're above the chaos, like they're not part of the problem, but deep down they know they are. The difference is they've just learned how to disguise it. They've learned to make it look like they're having meaningful conversations while really they're just waiting for the likes to roll in. And don't even get me started on the reply all emails, the ones that everyone just ignores but feels compelled to respond to because they don't want to be left out. It's like, who's actually reading these emails? Why are we all pretending that we care? It's almost like we're stuck in this perpetual cycle of forced communication that no one actually wants to be a part of. But if you don't reply, well, you're the odd one out, right? You're the person who's out of touch, who doesn't keep up. It's like, oh, you didn't respond to the email about the new office coffee machine? You must be some kind of outcast. Like, how did we get here? How did we get to a place where we can't even send a simple email without it turning into a social obligation? But this is where we're at now, isn't it? We're all living in this digital world where we've become more connected than ever, but at the same time, we're more disconnected than ever. We have the ability to talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time. But somehow we've lost the ability to truly connect with the people in front of us. And let's be real, it's not like we're even that great at communicating with the people on the other side of the screen either. We've all sent texts, emails, or messages that were misinterpreted. How many times have you thought you were sending a joke only to have someone take it way too seriously? Or worse, sending a message that made you sound like a complete idiot because autocorrect had its way with your words? I can't be the only one who sent an embarrassing text because I was in a rush and didn't check it first. We're so used to this fast-paced, click here, scroll there, scroll again world that we don't even realize how much we've lost. The little things, the moments where you're supposed to look someone in the eyes, nod in agreement, or just be there in silence, those moments are becoming more rare. Instead of being present with the people we're with, we're always thinking about what's next, always scrolling, always typing, always on to the next thing. And at the end of the day, it's left us feeling more isolated than ever before. Because here's the thing, no one truly listens anymore. They just respond. They just wait for their turn to talk. But isn't it strange? You spend all this time talking, but it feels like you've said nothing at all. You've just been talking at people, not to them. And don't you think that's a little sad? You're sitting there with someone in the same room, and you're both just talking into the void. No one's actually absorbing what the other person is saying. We've become so focused on getting our point across that we've forgotten how to understand each other. So, yeah, it's no wonder we're all so frustrated with the way things are. We have all these tools to connect with one another, but we're still missing the one thing that matters the most, true human connection. So, let's take a moment to observe just how absurd our daily interactions have become. It's like we're all in this weird race trying to keep up with the speed of the world, and somewhere along the way we lost track of the basics. Things like actual communication. I mean, look at the way we handle our text messages now. How many of you have been part of a group chat that's just spiraling out of control? You're in there trying to be a responsible adult, but suddenly someone sends a meme and it's like the floodgates open. Everyone's just throwing in their LOLs and oh my gods, like they've just discovered the funniest thing in the world. But here's the thing, no one actually reads the memes. No one stops to reflect on what they're laughing at. It's just this mindless, knee-jerk reaction. It's like, oh, everyone's laughing, so I guess I have to laugh too. And so you throw in a ha-ha, even though you don't even know what the meme is really about. You've seen it 100 times before, but it's like, if you don't contribute, you're suddenly out of the loop. It's not even about the meme anymore. It's about making sure you stay relevant, even if you don't actually understand what's going on. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's a competition. Who can be the funniest, who can be the quickest to respond, who can make sure their name stays at the top of the thread. Meanwhile, we're all just losing our ability to have a meaningful conversation. And then there's the phenomenon of the reply all email. You know the ones, right? The ones where someone sends out an email about the office potluck and suddenly every person in the office feels the need to chime in. Sounds great. I'll bring the cookies. Can't wait to eat. Why does this happen? Why does every single person feel compelled to respond to a mass email about food? It's like, do we really need to know that you're bringing cookies? Can't you just show up and surprise us? But no, here we are, filling up inboxes with these pointless exchanges. It's as if we've forgotten how to just show up without feeling the need to announce our existence. And speaking of emails, let's talk about those emails that are so vague. They might as well just say, hey, here's an email that you're supposed to read, but we're not actually telling you anything. You get these corporate updates that are loaded with buzzwords, but by the time you're done reading, you have no idea what they were actually talking about. We're streamlining our operational synergies and improving our holistic digital engagement. What does that even mean? Am I supposed to be excited about this? You can't even reply because you know you'll look stupid asking, wait, so what does this actually mean for me? So you just nod along, pretending like you get it, just hoping you don't get called out later. It's a beautiful mess of jargon and pretension, and we're all just floating in it, trying to stay afloat. But the real kicker? Social media. Oh God, social media, the place where we all pretend to have our lives together. We take the best possible picture of ourselves, usually with the perfect lighting, a filter that makes our skin look like it's been airbrushed by a team of professionals, and then post it for the world to see. Why do we do this? What are we trying to prove? Is it that we're happy? Is it that we're successful? Is it that we have it all together? I mean, let's be real for a second. If social media was honest, it would just be a series of sad, blurry pictures of people looking tired and wondering if they're going to make it to Friday. And don't get me wrong, I get it. We all want to be seen. We all want to be noticed, even if we don't admit it. But there's something about social media that makes us think we're supposed to be doing it all, living our best life every single day. And if we're not, well, there's a whole community of people out there ready to tell us how we're failing. You ever scroll through Instagram and think, how does this person manage to look that good while drinking a green smoothie and doing yoga at 6 a.m.? It's like, is this a real person or a walking ad for healthy living? But here's the thing, none of it's real. It's all a carefully curated highlight reel, and we're all buying into it. We're all pretending like we don't know it's fake, but deep down we all do. Yet we still feel this pressure to keep up, to make sure our own feeds look just as good. But in reality, we're all just a bunch of people trying to look like we have our shit together while secretly Googling how to not screw up your life. And let's not forget about the influencers. Now, I'm not saying all influencers are bad, but there's a certain type of influencer who seems to think they can sell you anything, literally anything, and you'll buy it because they've got the perfect angle, the perfect outfit, and the perfect product placement. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, they're just as confused as the rest of us. They're just better at pretending they've figured it out. So you see them talking about how this detox tea changed their life. And you start to think, maybe I need that tea. But let's be honest, if you really need a detox, it's probably because you've been living off takeout for 3 months straight. Not because you need the latest trendy tea that costs $30 for a pack of 5 bags. We've all fallen for it at one point or another. We've all looked at someone's perfectly staged Instagram story and thought, how do they have time for all this? Meanwhile, we're over here drowning in emails and wondering how we're going to make it through the week. The funniest part, we're all pretending like we've got it figured out. But here's the truth, we don't. None of us do. And yet, we continue to pretend because that's the game now, right? We've got to act like we've got it all under control. All right, let me just level with you guys. I'm no different. I mean, I sit here and tell you all this stuff about how messed up the world is with communication, but trust me, I'm just as bad as everyone else. You know that moment when you realize you've completely misunderstood a conversation, but you just go along with it? Yeah, that's me. All the time. I'm not even trying to be funny at this point. It's just my life. I had this conversation last week that I'm still cringing about. A friend of mine was telling me how their day was going, and they mentioned something about a big project they had to work on. Now, you'd think that as a responsible, empathetic human being, I would ask them about this big project. Instead, my brain immediately went into overdrive and started thinking, oh, big project. That's code for stress, right? So I responded with, oh, man, sounds like you're about to lose your mind. I hope you're handling it all right. And they just looked at me, confused. Like they didn't seem stressed at all, actually. And they just said, what do you mean? I'm super excited about it. I felt my face get hot. You know that moment when you say something so off the mark, you just want to disappear into the floor? That was me, right then. I tried to save it, of course. I said, oh yeah, of course, stress is exciting, right? Like in a fun way. What kind of ridiculous attempt at humor is that? But here's the thing, this happens all the time. I make these mental jumps and try to come up with something witty or relatable, and I end up looking like a complete idiot. Like when someone tells me a story, I start thinking, what can I contribute to this? What's my response going to be? Instead of just listening. And, you know, as I'm talking about it, it's like, man, why don't I just shut up for once and actually hear what people are saying? But no, it's like my brain just automatically goes into respond mode, even if the person didn't even finish their sentence. My thoughts go somewhere off in left field, and I try to pull out some random comment like it's a magic trick. One time, I was talking to my cousin, and they were explaining this really deep emotional situation they were going through. And I'm listening to them, nodding, trying to look like I'm really engaged, but inside my head, I'm thinking, oh, that's tough. But I've got a great response that will definitely make them feel better. So they finish their story, and without missing a beat, I go, you know, my ex used to do that to me too. Just completely ignored what they just said. It was like I just jumped in with my own trauma. Like, hey, I've been through something too. So let me tell you how much worse my life was than yours. I can't even explain how awkward that moment was. It's like, dude, sometimes people just want to feel heard. They don't need you to top them with your own nonsense. It's honestly a miracle I have friends, because I am the worst at communication. I'm not even talking about the big stuff. I'm talking about the simple, everyday stuff. Like, I'll send a text that's way too long. Have you ever done that? Just gone on and on like you're writing a novel. When all they asked was something basic, like, what's up? I'll send this whole detailed breakdown of my day. Like, well, first I went to the gym, then I had a protein shake, then I wait. Why am I telling you all this? And then the person just responds with, cool. Just cool. You think that's a sign that they've read your message? No. It's their polite way of saying, I didn't need all that information, but I don't know how to tell you that without hurting your feelings. So I end up sitting there regretting that I didn't just send a simple, hey, not much you, but no, I had to make it a saga. And don't get me started on how bad I am at answering the phone. I'll see someone calling, and in my head, I'm like, oh, I'll get it in a minute. You ever do that? You get a call, and you think, okay, I'll answer it in a second, but then it rings 2 more times, and you start playing this game with yourself. If I answer now, will they think I'm desperate? Or if I wait too long, will they think I'm ignoring them? So you let it ring, and by the time you answer, it's been 10 minutes, and you're all like, oh, hey, I was just making a sandwich. What's up? But really, you were just avoiding that phone call because you didn't know how to deal with the conversation. And don't even get me started on the voicemail. Who leaves voicemails anymore? If you leave a voicemail, you're practically a dinosaur. But there I am getting this voicemail from my mom, and I listened to it, and she's talking for what feels like hours about nothing important at all. Hey, honey, I was thinking about you today. You know, your uncle went to the doctor, and they told him to stop eating those muffins, but don't worry, everything's fine. Oh, and I saw your friend Carla the other day. She's doing great. Call me when you can. And I'm like, what? What am I supposed to do with that? Why did I just listen to this for 90 seconds? I'm not calling back now. And yet, somehow, we all still leave voicemails. It's like we know no one's going to listen, but we do it anyway. It's like the digital equivalent of shouting into the wind. At the end of the day, it's clear that I've completely lost touch with how normal humans communicate. But you know what? At least I'm honest about it. I'm here telling you all about how bad I am at talking, listening, and, well, just basic human interaction. And that's the first step, right? Admitting you've got a problem. At least I'm trying. Kind of. All right, let me tell you a story. It's one of those moments in life where you think, this can't be happening. This is one of those you couldn't make this up if you tried situations. And honestly, it still feels like I'm in a sitcom. I'm just waiting for someone to tell me, cut, that was great, let's take it from the top. But no, this was real life. And like all good stories, it starts with a little bit of bad decision making. So about 6 months ago, I was meeting up with some friends I hadn't seen in a while. You know, one of those catch up over dinner things. We hadn't hung out since the pandemic, so it was a big deal. Everyone was excited. The restaurant we picked was one of those trendy places with the dim lighting and the quirky menu that has all the weird food combinations. You know, the kind where you're like, I guess I'll try the grilled cheese and avocado mousse on a croissant. Yeah, one of those. You look at the menu and wonder if the chef's high, but it's so out there you feel like you'll look uncool if you don't order it. Anyway, we're all at the table, chatting about life, reminiscing, and everything's great. But then, for some reason, my friend, let's call him Dave, starts talking about this new hobby he's picked up during quarantine. Now, Dave is one of those guys who's always looking for the next big thing. A few years ago, he was into meditation. The year before that, he was deep into rock climbing. And I'm just sitting there waiting for him to tell us he's become a professional yodeler or something. But no. Instead, he says, I've gotten into taxidermy. And everyone pauses. There's a moment of silence where we all just stare at him, like he's just told us he's taken up breathing underwater or something. And I can't help myself. I blurt out, what? Like stuffing animals? And Dave, being Dave, just nods and says, yeah, exactly. It's actually really relaxing. You should try it sometime. Now, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but in that moment, something in my brain clicks, and I realize I've been eating my salad and sipping on my wine, completely unaware of what's going on. I'm thinking, wait a second, is this normal? Am I just supposed to accept that Dave is suddenly into preserving dead animals? But everyone else seems totally chill with it. Like, this is just some quirky thing that people do now. As if it's like knitting or pottery. Totally fine, totally normal. I'm just sitting there trying to figure out how I can casually ask him. So, how do you even get started with taxidermy? Do you just like walk around the park with a net and hope for the best? But I keep it in. For a minute, I sit there thinking, okay, whatever. It's just a weird hobby, right? And here's where it gets dark. A few weeks later, I get a text from Dave. It's one of those group messages that's just titled urgent. And my first thought is, oh God, did someone die? Because you don't send an urgent message unless something serious is happening, right? But no, it's Dave. And the message reads, so guys, I've got a proposition. I've been working on something special for the past few weeks. And I think it's time for you all to see it. And I'm thinking, okay, what in the actual hell is going on? The next thing I know, he sends a picture. Now, I'm not sure why I even opened it, but I did. And when I tell you I wish I could unsee what I saw, I mean it. It was a raccoon. But not just any raccoon. This was a raccoon that had been stuffed in the weirdest possible pose. It was standing up on its hind legs, holding a tiny shovel, wearing a top hat. And I just thought, what the hell, Dave? What did I just look at? I'm staring at the picture, completely frozen. And then the message comes through. I call it the raccoon that got its shit together. I almost dropped my phone. I mean, who even thinks of that? You know, I thought taxidermy was just about stuffing animals and leaving them in weird poses for the hell of it, but no. Dave took it to the next level. He wasn't just preserving animals. He was creating art. He had a vision. He was giving dead animals personalities. This wasn't just a random squirrel with its tail curled up. This was a full-on performance piece with tiny accessories posing them like they were living out their best lives. He had a series of raccoons, squirrels, and even a ferret, all in these weird, elaborate setups. I still don't know how I feel about it. Is it impressive? or is it just deeply disturbing? Maybe it's a little both. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dave's craftsmanship was on point. But every time I looked at that picture of the raccoon, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was horribly wrong with the world. And that's when I realized that our obsession with collecting things has just gone to a new level. First, we had people hoarding stamps, then Beanie Babies, and now it's dead animals in costumes. The worst part? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm at home watching TV, and all I could think about was that raccoon. It was like no matter how hard I tried to distract myself, my brain kept going back to it. And I know I'm not the only one who's been in that situation when you see something so strange, so far out of the realm of normal that it just sticks with you and you can't let it go. So I texted Dave back, dude, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm both amazed and horrified. And he responded with, that's the point. It's supposed to make you think. Yeah, Dave, I thought a lot. Too much, honestly. But here's the twist. A month later, Dave texts again, and this time it's a picture of a new project. And this one's even worse. It's a squirrel in a tuxedo holding a tiny cocktail glass. I guess the raccoon was just the beginning. And now, whenever I go to dinner with friends and someone talks about their hobbies, I'm terrified to ask what they've been up to. Because at this point, I've learned one thing. Never ask someone what weird hobby they're into. You might just end up with a picture of a stuffed animal dressed like it's about to attend a gala. Now, let's take a moment to really dig into this. What's going on in our lives that's driving us to collect things like weirdly posed raccoons, or for the more mild-mannered among us, digital likes on a picture of our breakfast? Why is it that despite all the ways we've advanced as a society, we're still grasping for something, anything, to feel real, to feel connected, to feel like we're part of something? Because let's face it, if you're stuffing animals for a hobby, there's got to be something deeper at play. It's not just the raccoon either. It's this need to constantly find validation or meaning in something external. We're all searching for that feeling, right? The feeling that we matter, that we exist beyond just the grind of daily life. And I mean, yeah, we try to fill that void with all sorts of things. Social media, consumerism, the next shiny thing that we think will make us feel complete. But the problem is, it's all just surface level stuff. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. You can cover the wound, but the pain's still there. And I get it. I'm no different. I mean, I've been there. You know those moments when you're scrolling through Instagram and you see someone else's life looking perfect, like they've got it all figured out, and suddenly you start questioning your own existence? That's the thing. We've all been conditioned to measure our lives by these digital standards. The more likes, the more follows, the more comments we get, the more validated we feel. But here's the kicker. No one ever talks about the fact that it doesn't actually solve anything. You hit 100 likes, and for a minute, you feel like you're on top of the world. But then it fades, right? That dopamine hit is short-lived. And the next time you post, you're looking for that same feeling again. But it never comes. So you post more, you comment more, you try harder, but nothing sticks. The root cause here isn't just about seeking validation through likes. It's about trying to fill a hole that's too deep to fill with surface-level rewards. It's about this desire to be seen, heard, and remembered. And that's not a new thing. I mean, this desire has been with us for centuries. But now, with all the technology at our fingertips, we've just made it more complicated. We've made it more immediate, more visible, and ironically, more hollow. Look at how we're all trapped in this digital feedback loop. We can literally check how we're doing in real time. We've got these constant notifications pinging us, telling us how many people are liking what we've posted, how many people are seeing our stories. And it's addicting. That constant pinging feels like a reward. It's like your brain saying, hey, you're doing well, people are noticing you. But at the end of the day, what does it mean? Does it really change anything in your life? Does it make you a better person? Does it make you feel more connected to the people around you? No, it doesn't. It's just noise. It's the illusion of connection. And we've all bought into it. The truth is, we've created this digital version of reality where everything's supposed to be perfect. And if we don't measure up, then we feel inadequate. We start comparing ourselves to these curated versions of people's lives, and we forget that behind every post, behind every photo, there's a real person who's just as lost, confused, and uncertain as we are. But here's where it gets really messed up. As we've gotten more connected online, we've become more disconnected in real life. We've forgotten how to have a real conversation, to sit down with someone and truly connect. When was the last time you had a conversation where you weren't looking at your phone? Think about it. You sit down for dinner and everyone's on their phone, sending texts, checking emails, scrolling through Facebook. We've all been there. But what does that do for us? Nothing. It doesn't build a deeper relationship. It doesn't create any lasting memories. All it does is reinforce the fact that we're more interested in what's happening online than what's happening right in front of us. And that's the real tragedy of it all. We've traded real connections for virtual ones, thinking that the more connected we are online, the more connected we'll feel in real life. But it's not working. If anything, it's making us feel more isolated. We're constantly surrounded by people, but we're not truly connecting with them. We're just communicating in the most superficial ways possible, and we don't even realize it. It's like we're all stuck in this cycle of seeking validation, but we don't know what we're really seeking. It's the same with Dave's taxidermy obsession. At first, I thought it was just some weird hobby, but now I realize it's a reflection of the way we all try to fill the empty spaces in our lives with whatever we can find. We take something that's broken, something that's gone, and we try to preserve it because we don't know how to deal with the fact that things fall apart. We try to freeze time, hold on to the good moments, and make them last forever. But no matter how much you stuff that raccoon, no matter how perfect its tiny shovel looks, it's still dead. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to hold on to something that isn't meant to last forever. And it's not just about taxidermy or social media either. It's about the way we live our lives. We're all looking for something to make us feel better, to make us feel like we matter. But in the end, it's all just temporary. We can post a picture of ourselves at the beach, we can share our latest achievement, but it doesn't fix the loneliness that we feel in the quiet moments. It doesn't fill the emptiness that we sometimes feel when we're alone with our thoughts. So, yeah, maybe it's not about filling the emptiness with more stuff or more validation. Maybe, just maybe, it's about realizing that the emptiness is okay. It's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to feel like we're missing something. The truth is, we've been sold a lie that we need to constantly prove our worth, that we need to be seen, heard, and validated by everyone around us. But what if we stop chasing that? What if we stopped trying to fill the void with things that don't matter and just started living for ourselves? Maybe then we'd finally find what we've been searching for all along. So, after all of that, after the taxidermy stories, the endless scrolling, the fake connections, and the desperate need for validation, here's the thing that hit me. We're all trying so hard to feel seen and heard, but the real problem is that we're not listening. Not really. Not to each other, and not even to ourselves. It's like we're all in this giant conversation, but no one's actually paying attention. We're too busy trying to get our own point across. We're constantly talking over one another, sharing our opinions, broadcasting our lives, and getting more and more frustrated when people don't respond the way we expect them to. But what if the real problem isn't that we're not talking enough? What if the problem is that we've forgotten how to listen? I know it sounds simple, but think about it. When was the last time you had a deep, meaningful conversation with someone where you didn't feel like you had to prove something? When was the last time you were genuinely present with someone and listened to them without thinking, how do I respond to this? How many times have you been in a conversation where your mind was already off somewhere else, planning your response, waiting for your turn to talk, and it's not just about talking with other people? When was the last time you actually listened to yourself? I mean, really sat down and thought about what you need, what you want, and where you're going in life? I think for most of us, the answer is never. We're so busy being busy, so caught up in the noise of the world that we forget to stop and listen. Listen to our own thoughts. Listen to the people around us. Listen to the things that matter. I remember a time when I was having a conversation with a friend. We were talking about our goals in life, our dreams, and everything we wanted to achieve. And the entire time, I was more focused on what I was going to say next. I wasn't listening to my friend. I wasn't even listening to myself. I was too busy planning my next wise comment. I couldn't even remember what my friend said 5 minutes after we finished talking. And that was the moment when I realized I was just as guilty of this communication problem as everyone else. I was so obsessed with being heard that I couldn't stop long enough to actually listen. And that's the breakthrough moment, right? That's the aha moment that really hit me. The world isn't failing because people aren't talking. The world is failing because we've forgotten how to listen. And when you forget how to listen, you miss the most important parts of the conversation. You miss the real connections, the real moments of understanding, the real chances to grow. Now, this doesn't mean that you should stop talking. It doesn't mean we should all just sit around in silence waiting for someone else to speak. But it does mean that we need to rethink how we communicate. It means we need to start listening, actually listening, before we jump in with our own thoughts and responses. We need to give the people around us the space to be heard. We need to give ourselves the space to be heard. And most importantly, we need to make the effort to listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Because when we stop listening, we stop connecting. And when we stop connecting, that's when the real loneliness sets in. That's when we feel like no one understands us. That's when we start turning to social media or weird hobbies like taxidermy to fill the void. We're all just trying to get someone, anyone to hear us. But the truth is, if we all took a step back and really listened to one another, we wouldn't need to scream for attention.
It's funny, isn't it? We're all here, screaming into the void, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, when all we really need is to sit back, take a breath, and listen.
Listen to the people around us. Listen to what's happening in our own lives. Listen to the things that we've been ignoring because we're too busy talking. And that's the insight I've come to, the aha moment. It's not about how loud you can be, how much you can say, or how many people you can convince to follow you. It's about how well you can listen. It's about paying attention to the people and the things that matter. Because when we listen, we open the door to real connections, to understanding, and to growth. Maybe, just maybe, if we all started listening more, we wouldn't feel the need to prove ourselves all the time. We wouldn't feel like we have to stuff our emotions or experiences into little boxes and post them online just to get a little attention. We could finally have real conversations. We could stop stuffing raccoons and start actually connecting. All right, let's change things up a bit. I've been talking about the disconnect, the endless scroll, the pressure to be heard, and all that stuff. But let me tell you a different kind of story. Something a little lighter, a little more personal, just to break the tension a bit. Sometimes life has a way of giving you the best lessons in the weirdest moments. And no, I'm not talking about taxidermy or raccoons and top hats. I'm talking about something a little more human. So a couple years ago, I went on this hiking trip with a few friends. You know, one of those nature bonding experiences where everyone's acting like they're really into it, but deep down we all just want to take a selfie at the top of the mountain and call it a day. But this was different. We didn't go for the easy hike. No, we went for one of those hardcore, it's an all-day affair, pack your lunch kind of hikes. The kind of hike where you think you're ready, but in reality you're not. Because when you step into nature, you're not just facing the beauty of the outdoors. You're also facing the reality that you've been sitting at a desk for the past 5 years and have absolutely no idea how to navigate a trail. So we start off on this path and everything's going great. It's early in the morning. The air is crisp and everyone's all smiles. I'm taking pictures like I'm some kind of travel blogger, pretending I know how to use my camera. But then about an hour into it, things start to get real. The trail gets steeper. People start to get quiet. You can hear the sound of your own breathing as you try to climb over rocks, but the air's thin and your legs feel like they're made of jello. It's that point in the hike where your mind goes, okay, this is probably the worst decision I've ever made in my life. And then to make it worse, I turn around and look at my friends. They're all in the same boat. Some of them are struggling more than others, but the thing is, no one wants to admit they're struggling. So we're all just kind of quietly suffering together, pretending like we've got this, we're strong, vibes are strong. But inside, we're all like, why did I agree to this? I don't even like nature. I just wanted to look cool in the photos. But here's the thing, I start thinking about all of us. We're all facing this mountain, both literally and figuratively, right? We're all trying to get to the top, but we're all doing it in our own way. Some of us are taking it slow. Some are pushing ahead like they've trained for this all their lives. And others are having a mini existential crisis in the middle of the trail. It doesn't matter how fast you're going, though what matters is that we're all going in the same direction. We're all headed for the same goal. And believe it or not, that's when the whole thing clicked for me. I realized that the hike was just like life. We're all in this crazy race, trying to reach the top, but we all have our own pace. Some people are flying up the trail looking like they're born for this. Others are struggling but are still going, one step at a time. And then there's me, stuck in the middle, trying to figure out how to breathe properly, while secretly cursing the idea of hiking in the first place. At some point, we all hit a wall. You know, that moment where you're like, I literally can't go any further. My legs are going to fall off. My lungs are on strike. My soul is questioning every life decision I've ever made. But then something happens. Someone, probably the least likely person, looks around and says, all right, let's take a break, have a snack, and keep going. We've got this. It was like a collective realization that no one was in this alone. We weren't going to win the hike by being the first to the top. We were going to make it to the top together, at our own pace, with our own struggles, but together. And that's the part that really got to me. There's something powerful about knowing that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much you want to quit, there's always someone there to pick you up. Whether it's a friend telling you to keep going or you telling yourself, I've made it this far, I'm not turning back now. That's what keeps you moving forward. So, after what felt like an eternity, we finally make it to the top. And let me tell you, the view, absolutely worth it. It was one of those moments where everything you just went through, the sweat, the tears, the self-doubt, all suddenly feels worth it. But here's the kicker. We didn't just celebrate the view. We celebrated the fact that we made it together. The hike didn't feel like this individual accomplishment. It felt like something we had all shared. And in that moment, I realized how much we need those moments of connection. The struggle, the frustration, the moments when you want to quit, those are the moments that make the success sweeter. It's not about getting to the top first, it's about getting there however you do it with the people who help you along the way.
That day, I learned something important. Sometimes the journey is just as valuable as the destination.
It's about the people you share it with, the moments you struggle through, and the understanding that no matter how tough things get, you're not alone. So yeah, the next time I think about quitting something, whether it's a project at work or a personal goal, I'll remember that hike. I'll remember that no matter how much my legs are burning, no matter how much I want to give up, I've got people by my side, and that makes all the difference. Life isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about learning to move at your own pace, appreciating the journey, and realizing that sometimes the best parts of life aren't the goals we reach, but the people we reach them with. Okay, so after all that emotional depth and self-reflection, let's break it up a little with something lighter. Because if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that no matter how deep you get, you've got to have those moments where you just laugh at yourself. And that, my friends, is what keeps us going. Let me tell you a little story about the time I tried to be cool and ride a bike in the city. You know, the whole, I'm a city person now, I don't need a car, I'll just ride my bike everywhere kind of thing. So I get this bike, nothing too fancy, just one of those bikes you can rent on the street. But I thought, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to be that person who rides their bike everywhere and just looks effortlessly chic. You know the type. You see them in the movies, right? They've got the basket on the front, a scarf flapping in the wind, sunglasses perched just right. They glide through the streets like they were born on two wheels. Now picture me helmet on, a little too tight because I wanted to look safe but also stylish. So here I am, pedaling away, trying to keep it together, all while acting like I've been cycling my whole life. First I get on the bike, and it's one of those rental bikes, so the seat is about 10 inches higher than it needs to be. I'm basically on tiptoe. But I'm not going to let that stop me. Oh no, I've committed now. I'm trying to ride this bike, gliding through the streets, all the while doing that weird thing where I'm trying to balance, but my legs are like two noodles just flopping around. I probably look like a toddler trying to learn how to walk, but I'm pretending I know exactly what I'm doing. But here's where things get interesting. I turn a corner, and bam, a pothole. And not just any pothole, this was the Grand Canyon of potholes. I hit it, and my bike jolts forward. My body flies over the handlebars like I'm in some action movie. I don't even remember what happened next. I just know that I somehow ended up on the ground with the bike on top of me, trying to figure out how to get my dignity back. I'm laying there on the pavement, and this guy walks by. He looks at me like, well, that's a unfortunate way to spend your morning. And I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. He gives me a nod like, yeah, I feel that, and keeps walking. No help, no sympathy, just a quick glance like that's the price you pay for trying to be cool on a bike in the city. But here's the thing, I got back up because you have to, right? I mean, you can't just lay there forever, even though every bone in your body is telling you to stay down. So I stand up, dust myself off, and what do? I get right back on the bike. Because now, at this point, it's not about the bike anymore. It's about my pride. You can't let a pothole beat you. You can't let the city's rough streets, the judgmental passerby, or even gravity stop you from finishing what you started. So I get back on, and guess what? I ride that bike the rest of the way. But now I'm all paranoid about every little bump in the road. And that's when it hits me, this is exactly how life works, right? You're cruising along, thinking you've got everything under control, and then bam, you hit a pothole. It could be anything. An unexpected problem, a curveball, a mistake, but it doesn't matter how many times you fall off that bike. The point is, you have to get back on, and you have to laugh at yourself while doing it. So yeah, I'm never going to look as cool as those people in the movies gliding effortlessly through traffic on their bikes. But you know what? I've learned something. Every time I get back on that bike, no matter how awkward or wobbly it looks, I'm doing it. I'm getting back up, I'm learning from my fall, and I'm laughing about it. And let's be real, that's all we can do in life. We fall off the bike, we get back up, and we laugh about it, because life's a series of potholes, and the best way to handle them is to keep pedaling and find the humor in the ride. Life, man, it's full of contradictions. It's like 1 minute you're doing your best to keep it all together, and the next, the universe hits you with a plot twist that has you questioning everything you thought you knew. Think about it. On one hand, we're all told to follow our dreams, be unique, stand out from the crowd. But then on the other hand, we're also expected to blend in, conform, and be normal. We're encouraged to be individuals, yet society has this weird way of making us feel like we're not doing it right if we stand out too much. Like, you want to be a trailblazer, but if you're not careful, you'll end up being that person who's just a little too different. It's like we're constantly walking this tightrope, trying to balance between being ourselves and fitting in. And don't even get me started on the idea of success. On the one hand, we're told to chase it, go after what we want, make something of ourselves. But on the other hand, the more we chase it, the more it feels like we're running in circles. How many of us have hit this point in life where we think, okay, I've got this great job, the house, the car, all the things I'm supposed to have, but why do I still feel like something's missing? It's this weird paradox. Success is supposed to make us happy, but the more we get, the more we realize that it's not the things that bring happiness. It's the feeling of purpose, the things that we can't really measure or hold in our hands. It's like the more we chase after the perfect life, the more we realize that there's no such thing. Perfection is this myth we're all sold, but no one tells you that it doesn't exist. We buy into this idea that if we just have the right job, the right partner, the right house, the right number of followers, we'll be happy. But then once we have all that, we look around and think, is this it? Is this really the life I've been working for? And here's where it gets real funny, because the people who seem to have it all together are usually the most miserable. We idolize these perfect lives on social media, thinking that if we can just get there, we'll be happy. But have you ever stopped to look at the people who are living that perfect life? They're often the ones posting the most cryptic, "I'm really struggling today" type of posts. It's like they're trying to convince everyone that they're happy, but deep down they're not. They're caught in the trap of trying to maintain an image. They've built this perfect, shiny exterior, but inside, they're just as lost as the rest of us. So, what's the lesson here? That maybe, just maybe, we're all trying too hard to find something that doesn't exist. We're chasing after things that won't ever bring us true happiness. And the people who have it all, they're often the ones who are the most disconnected, the ones who feel the emptiness the most, They've got the house, the car, the job, the followers, but they're still looking for something more. They're still searching for meaning, for fulfillment. They're stuck in this cycle of consumption, trying to fill a void that can't be filled with stuff. And here's where it gets really wild. Because the more we try to control our lives, the more we realize that we can't control anything.
Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs, and no matter how hard we try to plan, we can't predict what's coming next. We're all just kind of stumbling through it, trying to look like we know what we're doing. And the truth is, we don't. None of us do. We're all just figuring it out as we go. This is where the contradictions really start to pile up. We're told to work hard, hustle, build our careers, but then at the same time, we're told to find balance and live in the moment. It's like we're supposed to be these driven, ambitious people who never stop working, but also be these Zen-like creatures who meditate every morning and live stress-free lives. But how does that work? You can't be both, can you? Either you're grinding 24/7 to build your empire, or you're sitting in the park, eating a sandwich and staring at the sky. There's no middle ground. And don't even get me started on the way we view relationships. We're told to find the one, the perfect partner who will complete us. But then, when we find someone, we're also told, don't lose yourself in the relationship. Wait, what? So I'm supposed to find someone to share my life with, but not change anything about myself? I'm supposed to be this independent, self-sufficient person who can't depend on anyone, but I also need someone to complete me? That's the contradiction right there. We're all stuck in this weird limbo, trying to figure out how to be whole on our own, while also looking for someone else to make us feel whole. And then, when we're finally in the relationship, we have these high expectations. We expect our partner to be everything we want and need. But the reality, no one can ever live up to those expectations. Because we're all flawed. We all have our baggage, our quirks, our flaws. And no one can fix that for you. Not even the one. So, what do we do with all these contradictions? How do we deal with the fact that life is never going to be perfect, that the things we chase are just illusions, and that no matter how hard we try to control things, we're always going to be a little lost? Well, I think the answer is simple. We accept it. We accept the contradictions, the imperfections, the messiness of life, because that's what makes life interesting. It's not about finding the perfect career, the perfect relationship, or the perfect house. It's about accepting that life is never going to be perfect, and that's okay. The key is to stop chasing the idea of perfection and start living in the moment. Stop trying to control everything and just let things flow. The moment we stop trying to be perfect is the moment we start living more authentically, more freely, and with less pressure. We can't control the potholes in the road, but we can choose how we react to them. We can't control other people's expectations, but we can control how we live our own lives. And that, I think, is the real secret to happiness. Not the chase for perfection, but the acceptance of imperfection. All right, let's just take a moment to pause and reflect. After all the jokes, all the twists and turns, all the ups and downs of life, sometimes the best thing we can do is just stop and take a breath. Slow down for a minute and appreciate the messiness of it all. I've been talking a lot about contradictions, expectations, and all the stuff we get caught up in. But the truth is, none of this would matter if we didn't have the ability to pause, to step back and realize that we're all just doing our best. We're all just trying to make sense of a world that doesn't make sense. And if you really think about it, that's kind of beautiful. The fact that we're all out here trying, failing, getting back up, and doing it all over again, that's what makes us human. That's what makes life worth living. It's not about having it all figured out. It's not about looking perfect on Instagram or winning at everything. It's about the quiet moments, the real moments, the moments where we just stop and let it all sink in. Because let's face it, we're not always going to have everything together. We're not always going to be the person we want to be. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall short. And we're going to look back on things and think, why did I do that? But here's the thing. Those moments, they're part of the process. They're part of what makes us who we are. And that's where the real beauty lies. It's in the imperfection. It's in the mess. It's in the ability to look at yourself and say, yeah, I didn't get it right, but I'm still here. I'm still moving forward. Sometimes we get so caught up in the hustle, in the rush to get to the next thing, that we forget to stop and look around. We forget to appreciate what we have right now.
in this moment. Because the thing is, the present is all we really have. It's easy to get lost in the future, in the idea of what we want or think we should have. But when you think about it, we don't really know what the future holds. All we know is what's in front of us right now.
So, what if instead of always thinking about what's next, we just paused and appreciated where we are?
What if we could look at the life we're living in all its messy, imperfect glory and just be okay with it? What if we could look at the raccoon in the top hat and laugh, not because we're judging it, but because we understand that it's just part of the weirdness of life? Because when you stop for a moment and let it all settle, you realize something important. The things that matter most aren't the achievements or the possessions or the social media likes. It's the moments of genuine connection. It's the quiet, unsung moments where you feel truly at peace with who you are. Those moments don't come from chasing perfection. They come from accepting that life is what it is and we're doing the best we can with it.
And that's the kind of peace we're all looking for, isn't it? The kind of peace that comes from within, not from external validation or checking off boxes on some imaginary list of life goals.
It's the peace of knowing that even when everything feels chaotic and confusing, you're still doing okay. You're still moving through it, figuring it out one step at a time. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. There are days when everything feels like it's falling apart. There are days when you wonder if it's even worth trying. But here's what I've learned. Even on those days, there's something powerful about stopping, taking a breath, and realizing that it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to be in the middle of the mess. The mess is part of the process. It's what makes the moments of clarity and peace so much sweeter. So take a moment, just stop, breathe, appreciate the fact that you're here right now. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything figured out. Just be in this moment with all its contradictions and imperfections and know that in the end, it's all part of the ride. And that's the real beauty of it all. Now that we've taken a moment to pause and appreciate the mess of life, let's dive a little deeper. Because here's the thing. After all the laughs, the jokes, the observations, there's a bigger question that sits at the heart of it all. And that question is, what is this really all about? What are we all doing here? What is the point of all this hustle, this endless chase, and the pressure to keep moving forward when deep down we're all trying to understand what it all means? I know this is where I'm supposed to go all philosophical and give you the answers to life, but let's be real. If anyone actually had the answers, the world would be a much calmer place. Instead, we're all just out here doing our best to make sense of it, one awkward conversation, one failed attempt at a new hobby, one mess up at a time. And honestly, that's okay. It has to be. The real question, though, isn't so much about having the answers, it's about the willingness to ask the questions, to stop and reflect, to look at life and say, wait, why do I feel like I'm constantly chasing something I can never catch? Or why does it feel like no matter how much I get, I always want more? These aren't easy questions. In fact, they're the kind of questions that can really mess with your head if you sit with them long enough. But the thing is, if we don't ask them, if we don't allow ourselves to reflect on the bigger picture, then what are we really doing here? Think about it. Our whole society is built on this idea of progress, of constant forward motion. We're taught from a young age that the goal is always more success, more money, more followers, more stuff. And it's not even about the stuff itself anymore. It's about what the stuff represents. If you have the right things, the right career, the right image, then you've made it. But here's the catch. The more we chase these external markers of success, the more we realize that they don't actually bring us happiness. They bring us validation, sure, but they don't fill the void. They don't satisfy the deeper need for meaning. And that's the paradox we live in. We chase after all these external accomplishments, thinking they'll bring us fulfillment. But what we're really searching for is something much harder to define. It's not the number of likes we get on a post. It's not the validation of strangers who scroll through our lives for 5 seconds. It's the quiet moments of peace. It's the feeling of knowing that even if everything else in the world is falling apart, we're okay. That we're enough, just as we are, without all the stuff, without all the validation, without the need for constant progress. You know, it's funny, we spend so much of our lives running from the present, always looking ahead, thinking, once I have this thing, once I get there, then I'll be happy. But what if the real happiness, the real peace,
is found in accepting where we are right now. Not in some distant future where everything falls into place, not in the perfect life that we think we should be living, but in this very moment, the one you're living right now, with all its contradictions, imperfections, and mess. We're always told that we need to be working towards something, towards success, towards a goal, towards some version of happiness that's always just out of reach. But what if the secret isn't in chasing after that perfect version of our lives? What if it's about being okay with not having it all figured out? What if the key to living a fulfilling life isn't about reaching some distant milestone, but about truly embracing who we are in the here and now? And let's be honest, we all have this tendency to overcomplicate things. We get so lost in our goals, our expectations, our desire to control everything, that we forget that life is meant to be lived, not achieved. We're so busy trying to make things happen, we forget that we can't control everything. And that's where the beauty is. It's in the uncertainty, the unknown, the moments when we stop trying to control everything and just allow life to unfold however it will. But this isn't about giving up on ambition or on trying to be better. It's not about abandoning our goals, our passions, or our dreams. It's about realizing that we don't have to live life on someone else's terms. We don't have to live according to the standards set by social media, by society, or by the expectations of others. We can create our own version of success, one that's not tied to the things we own or the image we project, but to the way we live, the way we connect with others, and the way we accept ourselves. The reality is, the most profound truths about life are often the simplest. It's about being present. It's about appreciating the journey, even when it's messy. It's about recognizing that we don't need to have everything figured out to find meaning. The meaning is in the trying, in the failing, and in the learning. It's in the small, everyday moments that we often overlook, because in the end, it's not the destination that matters, it's the process. It's the steps we take along the way, no matter how wobbly, uncertain, or imperfect they may seem. And that's the big philosophical question we all have to answer. How do we live a life that's meaningful, a life that feels authentic, when everything around us is telling us to do more, be more, and have more? The answer, I think, is simple. We live for ourselves, not for the approval of others. We stop chasing the perfect life and start embracing the imperfect one we already have. And we start listening, really listening to ourselves, to the people around us, and to the world, without trying to force everything into some predefined box. Because when we stop trying to control it all, when we stop obsessing over what we don't have or where we think we should be, we finally make space for the real magic of life, the moments that matter, the moments that make us feel truly alive. And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. We're all just trying to find meaning, trying to make sense of the chaos. And the secret isn't in making everything perfect. It's in embracing the imperfections, the unknowns, and the contradictions. That's where the real beauty lies. I remember a conversation I had a few months ago with someone I hadn't spoken to in years. It wasn't one of those, hey, let's catch up conversations that you have with old friends, where you just trade surface level pleasantries. This one was different. It started with one of those I'm really struggling kind of admissions, and we both found ourselves opening up in ways that felt surprisingly raw and real. You know those conversations where, for some reason, the usual barriers we put up just fall away? The ones where, in a moment, you feel like you're looking at the person in front of you for the first time, really seeing them? This was one of those moments. We were sitting at a cafe, both of us awkwardly stirring our coffees as we stumbled over words, trying to get to the heart of the conversation. And as we spoke, it became clear that we had both been carrying a lot of weight over the years. Things had happened, life had happened that we weren't expecting, and neither of us had really processed it the way we should have. We started talking about our families, our childhoods, the pressure we both felt growing up. It was funny how, as we shared our stories, I realized how similar our experiences were. It wasn't that the details were exactly the same, but the feelings, the unspoken expectations we had felt were eerily alike. Both of us had spent so much of our lives trying to live up to an image of what we were supposed to be, what society wanted us to be, that we never really stopped to ask ourselves what we wanted. And it wasn't just family or societal expectations.
It was the pressure of always trying to be okay, always trying to look like we had everything under control. You know what I mean? The kind of pressure that comes from constantly having to prove yourself, not just to others, but to yourself. The pressure to show the world that you're strong, that you're capable, that you've got it all figured out, even when you don't. We both laughed, but there was a kind of hollow emptiness in the laughter because we both knew what we were saying was true. We've all been there, haven't we? We've all put on this mask, this image of the person we think we're supposed to be, and gone about our days pretending that we have it all together, when the truth is we're barely holding on. We're exhausted, we're overwhelmed, and we're just trying to make it through. But that's when something clicked in that conversation. For the first time, it felt like we weren't alone in that struggle. We were both speaking the same language, even though we had never shared the same experiences. And as we sat there talking about our fears, our failures, and our desires, I realized something important. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to not have all the answers. In that moment, I felt this shift. I started to let go of the idea that I had to have everything in perfect order. I realized that for so long I had been running away from my flaws, trying to hide the things that felt messy or uncomfortable. But the truth is, the mess is where the magic happens. The brokenness, the vulnerability, that's where connection starts. That's where we find the space to be real with each other, to admit that we're not perfect and that we don't have it all together. So, as we wrapped up our conversation, I found myself feeling lighter, like I had just let go of a burden I hadn't realized I was carrying. It wasn't a magical fix, and I didn't walk away from that cafe with everything suddenly figured out. But I walked away knowing that I didn't need to be perfect, I didn't need to have the answers, and I definitely didn't need to keep pretending like everything was okay all the time. I think that's the thing we forget sometimes. We get so caught up in the idea of perfection, in the chase for success, that we forget that the best connections happen when we're honest, when we're real, when we show up as ourselves, messy and imperfect as we are. It's not about the image we project to the world, but about the authenticity we bring to the table. It's not about the persona we've carefully curated for social media, but the person we are when the camera's off, when we're not trying to impress anyone. And it's funny because we often think of vulnerability as a weakness, right? We're taught to hide it, to shield ourselves from the world. But the truth is, it's the opposite. Vulnerability is strength. It takes courage to open up, to admit that you don't have it all figured out, to say, hey, I'm struggling, and that's okay. And when we start showing up that way, when we start owning our flaws and our imperfections, that's when we start to really connect with others. That's when we stop pretending to be something we're not and start living in a way that's true to ourselves. In that conversation, I realized that the greatest connection we can have is with our own humanity. The greatest gift we can give ourselves and others is the freedom to be real, to stop pretending, to stop living for other people's expectations and start living for ourselves. And maybe that's the real key to it all. It's not about finding the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect life. It's about finding the courage to be imperfect. It's about letting go of the idea that you need to have everything figured out and embracing the reality that life is messy. And that's okay. We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go. And in the end, I think that's what makes life so beautiful. The unpredictability, the mess, the moments when everything falls apart, and we realize that's when we're really living. It's funny how we've arrived in a world that's simultaneously more connected and more disconnected than ever before. We're living in an age where we can instantly reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. You can FaceTime someone halfway across the world, scroll through endless photos of your cousin's vacation in Bali, or read tweets from a celebrity about their thoughts on breakfast. But at the same time, the deeper we go into this digital age, the more we seem to lose touch with what really matters. The genuine connections that used to make us feel like we belonged, like we were part of something bigger. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that social media, texting, or emails are inherently bad. They've made communication easier, more efficient, and in many ways more fun. You can talk to someone on the other side of the world in real time. You can watch videos of puppies learning to walk or check out a new song by your favorite artist without even leaving the couch. It's convenient, it's quick, and it's easy. But here's where the issue comes in. The more
connected we are digitally, the less we seem to communicate meaningfully. We send 100 texts a day, but how often do we really talk to someone face to face? We click like on a friend's post about their new baby, but do we take the time to call them and actually ask about their baby? We sit in rooms full of people, all glued to our phones, and yet we feel more alone than ever. It's the paradox of modern communication. We have access to more people, more information, and more platforms than any generation before us. And yet we're missing the one thing that makes communication truly powerful, real connection. The kind that happens when you look someone in the eye, listen to their voice, and actually feel like you're sharing a moment together, not just exchanging words on a screen. And it's not just about the way we talk to each other. It's about the way we consume information. Take the news, for example. We're inundated with headlines 24/7 on our phones, in our emails, on TV, and yet somehow we've stopped listening to the story behind the headline. We read the headline, maybe glance at the article, and move on to the next thing. But we don't stop to think about the people involved, the real impact of what's happening, or the complexity of the issue. We're just scrolling, reading the next soundbite, and moving on. It's like we're consuming information in the most surface level way possible. We're skimming the surface of a deeper, richer world, but we don't have the time or the attention to dive into it. The funny part is, we all know this, don't we? We're all aware of how disconnected we are, even though we're always plugged in. We've heard the stories about the rise of loneliness in the digital age. We've seen the studies that show how social media can lead to feelings of inadequacy or isolation, and yet we continue to dive into the abyss, scrolling through Instagram like it's the only way to validate our existence. We tell ourselves, oh, I'm just staying updated, or I'm just keeping in touch. But deep down, we know it's more than that. We're looking for something: validation, approval, connection. We're looking to fill a void that we're not even sure how to describe. And here's the kicker. We do all of this while we're surrounded by people. Go to a coffee shop, go to a concert, go to a family dinner. What do you see? People shoulder to shoulder, but they're all buried in their phones. It's like we're physically in the same space, but emotionally miles apart. We've traded face-to-face conversations for text messages and likes. And it's not just about avoiding awkward silences. It's about the fact that we're losing the ability to connect in a real, meaningful way. But here's the thing. What if we stopped for a minute? What if we put down our phones and just listened? What if we stopped trying to get the most likes on our photos and started really paying attention to the people around us? What if we didn't need the constant validation from the outside world to feel good about who we are? What if we could just be? This is the real struggle of modern society, right? We're always looking for something more, something bigger, something better. We're constantly striving for the next thing, the next trend, the next milestone, because we think that's going to make us feel fulfilled. But what if the key to fulfillment isn't in the next thing? What if it's in the moment we're in right now, the people we're with, and the connections we're able to make? Maybe it's time to rethink what connection really means. Maybe it's time to stop letting technology dictate how we communicate and start using it in a way that enhances real-life interactions, not replaces them. Maybe it's time to stop feeling like we're constantly missing out on something because we're not up to date on the latest meme, the latest news, or the latest viral challenge. Maybe, just maybe, the key to real connection isn't in the device in our hands, but in the people we're surrounded by every day. I mean, let's be honest. When was the last time you had a conversation with someone that didn't involve checking your phone every 5 minutes? When was the last time you went to dinner with a friend and didn't feel the urge to snap a picture of your food first? It's like we're so focused on documenting our experiences for the outside world that we forget to live them. So here's the challenge. The next time you're out with friends at a family gathering or just spending time with someone you care about, put down your phone. Let go of the distractions. Just be present, listen, engage, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start to realize that the real connection you've been searching for has been there all along. It's not in the digital likes or the comments, but in the actual moments we share with the people around us. Because at the end of the day, we're all just looking for connection. And while technology can bring us closer in some ways, the truest connection will always come from those raw, unfiltered moments when we stop looking for approval and just show up for each other. Let's take a deep breath and slow down a little. Sometimes in all the chaos of life, we forget that it's okay to let ourselves feel things, to be vulnerable, to open up, to admit that we're not okay.
We're so conditioned to push through, to keep going, to fake it until we make it, that we forget it's okay to just stop and say, I'm struggling. I'm not perfect. I'm human. And this is, I'll be honest with you. There are times in my life when I feel completely overwhelmed. Like I'm drowning in everything I'm trying to keep afloat. You know the feeling, right? Like there's this invisible weight on your chest. And no matter how hard you try to breathe, it feels like it just won't let up. The responsibilities, the expectations, the things you're supposed to do, the people you're supposed to be for, it it can be suffocating. And in those moments, all I want is to just be able to let it all go. I remember a time when I was going through one of those stretches. Everything felt like it was falling apart. Like I couldn't catch my breath, like I was slipping further away from who I thought I should be. I was struggling with self-doubt, with fear, with the weight of everything I had to do and the uncertainty of how I would make it through. And I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone else, didn't want to seem like I was falling short, didn't want to admit that I was struggling just to keep going. But here's the thing, I kept pushing through, kept pretending like I had it all together, like I wasn't affected. I thought if I just kept my head down and worked hard enough, eventually I'd come out the other side, but that didn't work. The truth is, the more I tried to hide it, the worse it got. It built up inside of me, and instead of feeling stronger, I felt smaller. I felt more alone. I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't talking about it. I was keeping it all in, like I could somehow carry it on my own. And then one day, I reached a breaking point. It wasn't anything big or dramatic, just a small moment of conversation with a friend, a simple, how are you really doing? And it felt like the floodgates opened. All of a sudden, everything I'd been holding in came rushing out. I didn't have any control over it. I started crying, not just a few tears, but that deep guttural cry that comes from a place you don't even realize is there until it all comes spilling out. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't care how it looked. I didn't care about the strong, put together image I had tried to project. I didn't care about anything except the release. It was like the moment I let myself feel everything, the exhaustion, the disappointment, the fear, I felt a weight lift. Not because the problems went away, but because I allowed myself to be human. I allowed myself to admit that I wasn't perfect. I didn't have it all figured out. And that was okay. It was more than okay. It was necessary. Because, here's the truth. We spend so much of our lives trying to be strong, trying to appear like we've got everything under control. We're afraid of showing our vulnerability because we're afraid it makes us weak. We think that if people knew how much we were struggling, they might think less of us, or worse, that they wouldn't be there for us. But what I've learned, what I'm still learning, is that vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's the thing that connects us. It's the thing that makes us real. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to admit that we're struggling, we give others permission to do the same. And in that moment of shared humanity, something amazing happens. We stop feeling alone. In those moments when I felt like I was drowning, I didn't need someone to fix everything. I didn't need a solution. I needed someone to see me, to hear me, to say, I get it. You're not alone in this. And the moment I let myself be vulnerable, the moment I let someone in, that's when the healing started. It wasn't instant, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. And that's when I realized how powerful vulnerability is. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. It's funny how the most meaningful connections we have are often born from our vulnerabilities. It's not the polished versions of ourselves that create deep connections. It's the messy, unfiltered, raw moments. The times when we're not trying to impress, not trying to hold it all together, but just being real. And when you think about it, those are the moments that matter. Those are the moments that build trust, that build relationships. The moments when you can look at someone, say, I don't have it all together, and they still look at you like you're enough. And the most beautiful part of all of this is that when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we realize that we don't have to do it alone. There are people out there, real, genuine people who are going through the same struggles, who feel the same weight, the same doubts, the same fear. And when we allow ourselves to be open, we create space for them to be open too. It's a shared experience. It's the understanding that no matter how isolated we feel, we are all in this together. So, yeah, vulnerability isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, and it doesn't always look the way we want it to. But the truth is, it's one of the most powerful tools we have. It's the thing that brings us closer to others, the thing that makes us human, the thing that reminds us that we don't have to be perfect to be loved, to be accepted, to be enough. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real lesson we all need to learn, that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not have it all together. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Because when we do, we realize that we don't have to carry the weight alone. And that's when the healing really begins. All right, I know we've been deep, heavy, and reflective for a while now, so let's shake things up a little. Time for a bit of a shift in rhythm, just a little humor mixed with some deeper thoughts to keep the balance. Because let's face it, life isn't all deep philosophical moments and emotional breakthroughs. Sometimes it's just about finding humor in the chaos. And sometimes humor is exactly what we need to help us understand the deeper things. Have you ever tried to be adult about something only to have it like completely blow up in your face? Like real adulting? Like when you try to handle something serious with all the maturity you can muster and then it completely falls apart? Yeah, that's me. About 95% of the time. I mean, I try to be organized, to be on top of things, but then my inner child shows up and says, nah, we're going to do this the messy way. Take last week, for example. I thought I was being responsible. I made a to-do list. I got myself a planner, which, let's be honest, feels like the adult version of buying new school supplies. It's got sections for every day of the week, space for appointments, reminders, goals. You get the picture. I was like, okay, I'm about to crush this week. I sat down with my coffee, opened up my fancy planner, and got to work. But somewhere between write out emails and clean out the closet, something happened. I got distracted, probably by a squirrel outside my window. Or maybe it was Instagram. Or possibly the latest TikTok dance trend. Whatever it was, I got sidetracked. And in the span of 20 minutes, my planner went from this well-organized shrine to productivity to a sad, scribbled mess. Respond to emails turned into watch YouTube videos about how to make French toast and get groceries became order takeout for the third time this week. And you know what? I wasn't even mad. I was like, you know what? This is fine. This is life. Sometimes you just got to roll with it. The point is, we try so hard to be adults, to be responsible, to have it all together. But the truth is, we're all just winging it. We're all just making it up as we go, hoping that somehow it all works out in the end. And I think that's what makes life so funny. We try to control everything, but at the end of the day, we're all just improvising, hoping that we don't make too big of a mess along the way. And honestly, that's what I love about the unpredictability of life. You think you've got everything figured out, you make your plans, and then life goes, oh, really? You think you're in control? And bam, there's a curveball. You thought you were going to be the responsible adult who eats a salad for lunch, and instead you end up in line at the drive-thru with fries in your hand, questioning your life choices. But you know what? That's okay. Life is messy. And sometimes the most interesting things happen when we let go of the illusion of control and just let things unfold. It's kind of like trying to plan the perfect day. We all do it, right? We get up, set our intentions, and think today's going to be great. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be present. I'm going to make all the right choices. And then bam, you spill coffee on your shirt. Your laptop decides it's going to stop working. And the person who's supposed to bring you that one important document for a meeting forgets to email it to you. Your perfect day is suddenly a chaotic mess, but instead of freaking out, you realize this is what life actually looks like. Not perfect, not polished, but real. And oddly enough, that's where the humor lies. In the mess, in the unpredictability. It's funny, though, because for all the times life seems to throw us off course, we're still desperately trying to figure it out. We spend so much time trying to make everything perfect, trying to control every moment, when really the moments that matter most are the ones that are completely outside of our control. The unexpected laughs, the mistakes that turn into memories, the little messes we make along the way, those are the moments that make life interesting. And if you really think about it, isn't that what makes us feel alive? It's not the perfectly executed plans or the perfectly polished moments. It's the things that surprise us,
the things we don't see coming. It's like the best moments in life often come when we least expect them. You don't plan for joy. It just happens. And when it does, it's beautiful. But let's get real here. Doesn't that contradict everything we're told as kids? We're taught to work hard, to be perfect, to plan everything to a T. And yet, some of the most rewarding experiences come when we let go of the need to control everything. I mean, how many times have you been stressed out trying to figure out the next step, only to find that when you let go of the pressure, things just fall into place? It's the age-old advice, right? Just relax, things will work out. But like, when you're in the thick of it, you're like, no way, this is a disaster. And yet, somehow, it always works out in the end. So, yeah, life is full of contradictions. We try to plan everything, but we can't control the outcome. We try to make everything perfect, but it's the imperfections that make it all worthwhile. We're told to work hard, but sometimes the best things come when we let go of the hustle and just live. It's all a balancing act between what we can control and what we have to let go of. And maybe, just maybe, the key to living a good life is finding humor in the chaos and accepting that sometimes it's okay not to have everything figured out. Because in the end, it's the unpredictability, the mess, and the little surprises that make life worth living. The perfect plans, the perfect moments, they're great, but they don't hold a candle to the ones that catch us by surprise. So, we've been dancing around this idea of life's messiness, the contradictions and the humor in it all, but there's something deeper in that mess, something that we often forget to pay attention to. It's easy to get caught up in the external chaos, work, social media, family pressures, personal expectations, but in all that, we sometimes miss the very thing that could make our lives easier to understand. Awareness. Now, I know what you're thinking. Awareness sounds like one of those buzzwords people throw around during yoga class or in self-help books. But what if I told you that being truly aware of ourselves, of our surroundings, and of our place in the world is the key to finding real peace? Not just the temporary peace we get when we scroll through our phones for 5 minutes to escape, but a deep, lasting peace that comes from understanding who we are, what we want, and how we fit into this complicated, messy world. I'm not talking about being aware in a checklist kind of way, like, okay, I'm aware of my body, my thoughts, my feelings, now I'm done. No, this is the kind of awareness that requires slowing down, being present, and really tuning into the moment. In a world that's constantly telling us to do more, be more, achieve more, we've forgotten how to just be. And in that being, we find the answers we've been searching for all along. You know, there was a time in my life when I felt like I was always in a rush. It was like I was constantly running from one thing to the next, trying to get everything done, trying to be the best version of myself, trying to keep up with everyone else. But in all that hustle, I never stopped to ask myself, what do I actually want? What am I doing all this for? It wasn't until I found myself completely burnt out that I realized the problem. I was living my life without truly being present in it. I was living in the future, always looking ahead, always thinking about the next goal, the next step. And that's the problem with always striving for more. You miss what's happening right in front of you. You miss the moments that actually make life meaningful. I had a moment of clarity, a sort of epiphany, during a random walk in the park one day. I wasn't trying to solve any problems. I wasn't thinking about the future, about work, about relationships, or anything else. I was just walking. And as I walked, I started to notice the little things, the birds in the trees, the wind on my skin, the sound of children playing in the distance. I noticed the way the sun hit the leaves, the way the air smelled, the way the world just was. And for the first time in a long time, I realized how much I had been missing by constantly rushing. That walk didn't give me any grand answers. It didn't magically solve all my problems or give me a roadmap for my life, but it gave me something better. It gave me the gift of presence. I stopped being focused on what was ahead and started appreciating what was here, right here, in this moment. And that's when I started to understand the power of awareness. It's not about knowing everything about the future or figuring out every single detail of your life. It's about being aware of where you are now and fully embracing the present. Because when you're present, you don't just exist, you experience life. And that makes all the difference. It's funny, though, because even though we talk about living in the moment all the time, we rarely do it.
We're so conditioned to multitask, to do everything at once, to always be on, that we forget what it means to truly be present. Think about the last time you had a meal with friends or family. How much of it did you actually enjoy versus how much of it did you spend scrolling through your phone, checking notifications, or thinking about what was coming up next? We're all guilty of it, right? We go to dinner, we sit across from people we care about, and instead of being there, we're distracted thinking about everything else. We're physically present, but mentally and emotionally, we're somewhere else. And that's a problem because real connection doesn't happen when we're distracted. It happens when we're present, when we're truly there with the people we're talking to, with the experiences we're living. And that's where the awareness comes in. When you start practicing awareness, you start noticing things you've been missing. You notice how your body feels when you're stressed or tired. You notice when you're overwhelmed and need a break. You notice when you're not happy, when you're not aligned with your true self. And instead of ignoring it, you pay attention. You listen to what your mind and body are telling you. And in that listening, you can make better decisions. You can choose to take care of yourself. You can choose to let go of the things that no longer serve you. But awareness isn't just about being present for yourself. It's about being present for others. When you're truly aware of what's going on around you, you start to see people differently. You start to understand them on a deeper level. You stop assuming you know what they're thinking or feeling, and you start asking, how are you really doing? And when you listen, when you really listen, you create a deeper connection. You show up for them in a way that matters. We all have this constant stream of thoughts running through our heads all day long, and it's easy to get lost in that noise. But when you practice awareness, you start noticing those thoughts without getting caught up in them. You realize that you don't have to follow every thought, every feeling. You can let them come and go without letting them control you. And that's what awareness does. It gives you control, not over the world around you, but over your response to it. It gives you the ability to choose how you want to react, to decide whether you want to be caught up in the chaos or to find peace in the present moment. Because the truth is, life isn't going to slow down. It's always going to throw curveballs. But when you practice awareness, you can find a sense of calm amid the storm. So here's the takeaway. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of contradictions. But if we can start to live with awareness, if we can stop running from the moment and start fully embracing it, we can find peace in the chaos. We can stop chasing after things we think will make us happy and start appreciating what we already have. And when we do that, we realize that maybe, just maybe, we've had everything we've been looking for all along. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today. From the messiness of life, the vulnerabilities we all try so hard to hide, to the deeper philosophical reflections on connection, awareness, and what it really means to be present. It's been a bit of a ride, hasn't it? And as we reach the peak of this journey, I want to tie everything together. Because at the end of the day, all of this, the humor, the struggles, the philosophy is about one simple thing: finding meaning in the chaos. You see, life isn't just about surviving the storm. It's about dancing in the rain, even when you don't have the best umbrella, even when the wind is knocking you sideways. It's about finding joy in the journey, even if the destination is constantly changing. Life is constantly shifting, moving, evolving, and we're right here, trying to figure out how to keep our footing. But the truth is, we don't need to have everything figured out to appreciate the moments we're living in. We don't need to have the perfect plan, the perfect job, or the perfect relationship. All we need is to be present, to find meaning in the everyday, in the messy, in the imperfections. It's funny how we spend so much time looking for answers when the answer's already here, right in front of us. It's in the quiet moments, the ones we overlook, the ones where we're not chasing something or trying to be someone. It's in the conversations that don't go as planned, the failures that turn into lessons, the mistakes that make us laugh later. Life isn't about getting it right all the time. It's about being real with yourself and with the people around you. And the beauty of that is when you stop trying to force everything into some neat little box, you can finally start living. We've spent so much time trying to fix ourselves, haven't we? We've been taught that to be successful, to be happy, to be fulfilled, we need to have everything together. We need to have like the perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect social media feed. But the more we chase that ideal, the more we realize that it's all just an illusion. There's no perfect and there's no right way to live your life. It's messy, it's unpredictable, it's chaotic. And honestly, that's what makes it worth living. Here's the thing. Life is both beautiful and brutal. We get moments of joy and we get moments of struggle. We get moments where everything falls into place and we get moments where it feels like nothing is going right. But it's in those moments of struggle and those moments when we're at our lowest that we start to find meaning, because that's when we learn what really matters. That's when we stop caring so much about the things that don't make us happy and start focusing on what does. I've had my own share of those moments. I've faced failures, disappointments, and self-doubt. There were times when I thought I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't doing enough, that I wasn't enough. But here's what I've learned. Those moments don't define me. They don't define you either. The failures don't matter as much as the lessons we take from them. The mistakes are part of the process. The disappointments are stepping stones on the way to something better. And the thing is, it's not about the destination. It's not about getting to some finish line and saying, okay, I've made it. It's about who you become in the process. It's about the person you are when no one is looking, when you're facing those tough moments and you keep going. It's about embracing the messiness of life, not because you're okay with it, but because you realize it's the only way to truly experience it. When we embrace the imperfection, when we accept that life is unpredictable and uncontrollable, that's when we start to find the real meaning. That's when we stop trying to force everything into this perfect picture and start letting it flow naturally. Life is a series of moments. Some are funny, some are painful, some are mundane, but each one has the potential to teach us something if we let it. The key is to stop trying to control everything and start appreciating the moments for what they are. Now, let's think about the bigger picture here. It's easy to get lost in the small stuff, the failures, the disappointments, the mistakes. But when you zoom out, you realize that all those things are part of something much bigger. They're part of your journey, your story. They don't define you, but they shape you. Every moment, every experience, every setback is a chapter in the book of your life. And when you look back, you see that the story isn't about the times you got it right. It's about how you kept going, how you learned, how you grew. And here's the beautiful part. It's all interconnected. The ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the funny, the serious, they all tie together to create your unique story. And in that story, the moments that seemed insignificant or painful at the time might turn out to be the ones that matter the most. They're the ones that shape you, teach you, and ultimately make you who you are. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. Life doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, it never will be. And that's okay. It's in the imperfections that we find the beauty, in the mistakes that we find the lessons, and in the chaos that we find the meaning. The key is to stop trying to control everything, to stop chasing after an ideal, and start embracing the reality of what's in front of you. That's where the real magic happens. And that's when life starts to feel real. Because, in the end, the greatest story we can tell isn't one of perfection or control. It's one of vulnerability, of growth, of learning, and of living fully in the moment. As we near the end of this journey together, I find myself reflecting on everything we've discussed, the messiness of life, the contradictions we live with, the vulnerability we all carry, and the deep, often elusive search for meaning in a world that constantly throws curveballs at us. There's something powerful about taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture, and realizing just how much of our lives are shaped by our willingness to be present, to embrace the chaos, and to accept that we don't have all the answers. And that's okay. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that life is something to be conquered. We're told from a young age that we should have a plan, that we need to be productive, that we need to climb the ladder, achieve our goals, and check off boxes. And at times, that can feel like the only path to success, like the only way to prove that we've lived a meaningful life. But what if I told you that maybe the key to a truly meaningful life isn't in the checklist? What if it's in the moments we don't plan for? What if it's in the unexpected laughter,
the impromptu conversations, the failed attempts that teach us something more valuable than any success could. What if life's meaning is not in the achieving, but in the living? And here's the kicker. Once we begin to reflect on our lives and realize that the key to fulfillment doesn't lie in having everything figured out, we start to give ourselves permission to be imperfect. We stop holding ourselves to unrealistic standards. We stop measuring our worth by the number of achievements or milestones we can check off. We stop comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and instead, we start to live authentically, and that's where the magic lies. Now, I know this sounds cliche, like something you'd read in a motivational book or hear during a TED Talk, but the reason those messages resonate with us, even if they sound simple or even overused, is because they contain a truth that we often overlook in the rush to keep up with the world around us. The truth is, life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. In fact, life is only meaningful because of its imperfection. Think about it. What do you remember most from your life so far? The times when everything went according to plan? The times when you were sitting there ticking boxes off your list, feeling like everything was in its proper place? Or do you remember the times when things went sideways? When everything you thought you knew about yourself or about life was turned upside down, and in those moments, you learned something you couldn't have learned any other way? I'm willing to bet it's the second option. We remember the messy moments, the ones that make us laugh when we think about them later, the ones where we were forced to adapt, to grow, and to become more than we were before. Those moments are what define us. They make up the real story of who we are, of how we've navigated life's challenges, and how we've come out the other side, not perfectly, but whole. It's the bumps in the road that lead us to a deeper understanding of who we are and what truly matters to us. As I reflect on my own journey, I realize that it's not the moments of perfection or control that shape me the most. It's the moments when I was forced to let go, when I stopped trying to control the outcome, when I simply allowed life to unfold as it would. I've made mistakes, I've stumbled, I've gotten lost, and I've had days when I wondered if I was even on the right path. But in all those moments, I learned something valuable, something that I couldn't have learned by trying to stay in control or pretending to have it all together. And that's the point I want to make here today. We are not defined by our successes or by the things we get right. We are defined by how we handle the things we get wrong. We are defined by how we show up in the messy, imperfect parts of life. Because when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to admit that we don't have it all figured out, we create space for real growth. We give ourselves permission to be human. When I look at the world today, it feels like we're all so obsessed with perfection, with showing the world that we've got it all together. But in that quest for perfection, we miss the beauty of being human, the beauty of failing, of trying again, of laughing at ourselves when we realize we've made a mess of things. And honestly, that's where the depth of life is. In the imperfections, in the mistakes, in the moments where we let go of the need to be perfect and just live. That's where we find our true selves. That's where we find our real connection to the world around us. It's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to feel uncertain. It's okay to question where you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. The key is to keep asking those questions, to keep reflecting, to keep searching for meaning in every moment, and to stop trying to force everything to fit into some predefined box. The beauty of life is in the journey, not the destination. It's in the experiences, the people, and the lessons that we pick up along the way. As we move forward from here, I want you to remember this. You are enough, just as you are. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to chase some ideal version of success. All you need to do is show up. Be present, embrace the imperfections, live your life and let it unfold naturally. The meaning of your life is already here in the moments you're living right now. And maybe that's the most profound realization of all. Life is happening right in front of us. We don't have to wait for it to be perfect to start living it. We don't have to wait for the right moment, the right job, or the right person. All we need to do is show up. All we need to do is live. Well, here we are. At the end of this journey. And I got to say, it's been a wild ride. From the humor to the vulnerability, from the deep philosophical reflections to the messy realness of life, we've covered a lot.
But as we wrap it all up, I want to leave you with one last thought, one simple idea that ties it all together. Life isn't about having it all figured out. In fact, it's not about figuring it out at all. It's about showing up. It's about being present, real, and alive in the moments that matter. It's about accepting that the chaos, the contradictions, and the imperfections are part of the journey, not things to avoid or fix, but things to embrace. Because in the end, those are the moments that make life worth living. We've spent so much time trying to make life perfect, trying to follow the right path, meet the right expectations, achieve the right things. But what if the real beauty is in the things that don't go according to plan? What if the real magic is in the mistakes, the failures, the missteps along the way? Because those are the moments when we truly learn, when we grow, when we find out who we really are. And here's the thing. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to have everything figured out to have a meaningful life. The mess, the struggle, the awkwardness, it's all part of it. It's what makes us human. And the more we let go of the need to be perfect, the more we can experience life in its raw, unfiltered beauty. Life is going to throw curveballs, and we're going to stumble. Sometimes we'll get knocked down, sometimes we'll feel like giving up. But in those moments, we get to decide how we react. We get to choose whether we let the struggle define us or whether we rise up and keep moving forward, knowing that every fall is just a lesson and every misstep is just part of the process. So, as you leave here today, I want you to remember one thing. You don't have to be perfect to be enough. You don't have to have it all together to be worthy of love, success, or happiness. All you have to do is show up. All you have to do is live your truth, embrace the mess, and trust that the journey is worth it, even if it's not always pretty. And when you look back on your life, when you reflect on the moments that mattered the most, you'll see that it wasn't the perfect moments that defined you. It was the real ones. The messy, imperfect human moments. The ones when you laughed, cried, stumbled, and got back up. The ones where you allowed yourself to be you, without the mask, without the pretensions, without the need to be anyone else. That's where the beauty lies. In the real, the raw, the messy. In the journey, not the destination. So here's to life, perfectly imperfect, beautifully messy, and worth living, just as it is. And with that, my friend, I'll leave you to continue your own journey. Take what you've learned, let it sink in, and remember, life is happening right now, in the moments you're living. You don't need to wait for the right time, the right circumstances, or the perfect version of yourself. You're already enough, just as you are. Thank you for walking through this with me. Take care of yourself, and always remember to live authentically.